This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
Welcome into the Sports Source Digital Network. I'm John Pennington, joined by the voice of the Vol baseball program, John Wilkerson. John, earlier this week I had a chance to sit down with Will Heflin, VFL. You know him well. You've done games with him. You've had him on your radio show. Of course, folks can hear you 6 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on the Sports Animal, 99.1. But Will and I chatted a little bit about the baseball team, put a wrap to it, but I thought, let's do another wrap. But this time we'll do it with a guy who's been covering UT baseball for 30-some-odd years at this point. I thought it was interesting that Tony Vitello was somewhat apologetic in his press conference after the season ended, and I thought, one, that shows he gets it. I think that's a great move by a coach. Two, I thought it was unnecessary. I mean, I get why he did it. I think it was smart. I don't think there was anything to apologize this year. Super regional, 46 wins, seems pretty good to me.
Well, not only are you the defending national champs, the reigning champs until that last out is made in Omaha this year, but at the same time, you were the last team to lose a game. I mean, so in the country, you were the last team standing. You swept Florida after they had beaten the other unbeaten team that week, and that was Florida State. So you carried that for a good long while. And at that point in time, Coach has always been transparent, and I certainly have appreciated that aspect of his personality, because that's what you want, is somebody who's just going to call it like he sees it, as opposed to trying to say, oh, don't pay any attention to that man behind the curtain. So I do think the fact that Tennessee didn't make it a third straight trip to Omaha, the fact that there were Tennessee fans that followed the Vols to Hoover and on to Fayetteville after winning the Knoxville Regional, he is indeed truly sorry that there wasn't a better fan experience wearing orange in Fayetteville, which has really been a tough place for Tennessee to find wins.
I want to get into that, but let's talk more about this season. So, again, there are people who took this. I see a difference between disappointing and a disappointment. Disappointing is I would have liked to see this go further. Disappointment is they blew it. They're not as good as they should have been. That, in my view, that's how my mind works. That's my own mental vocabulary. The definitions are different. It was disappointing they lost, but did you feel that this team had some fatal flaws that you knew they're not going to win it this year? Or did you say, the right night they could have made it to Omaha?
I do think they can compete with anybody. But this was a team that struggled to find that consistent path. You look at an area that has been such a strength, and that is when the weekend's on the line, Tennessee's going to be tough to beat. And they weren't as difficult to beat with the weekend up for grabs. They weren't swept by a single team. There were 4 schools in the SEC that could say that. Arkansas was one, and then the weird thing was they won 20 games. The other 3 were all 16 and 14, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Tennessee. But they beat every team they played at least once. Yeah. But instead of being a team that was 6-2 in rubber matches, they were 2-6. They won their first. Yeah. They won 2 of their first 3 and then didn't win 1 the second half of the schedule. So, yes, it could have been better, but they had a winning record in the Southeastern Conference. They won 18 games against SEC competition, and so you were in a good spot. They deserved to host. But at the same time, if they had found a way to work in those third games, just a couple of more victories, they wouldn't have been the 14 seed, and they wouldn't have had to travel to Fayetteville for the Super Regional, because they would have been higher up the chain.
I just think folks need to, and we see this with basketball. Mark Pancratz has talked about it on our television show. Coming down from Chicago, where he's from, he's like, you guys cover basketball the way you do football. You think every game, any loss is inexcusable, and it's into the season, you should go undefeated. That's not how basketball works. And you got so many new people who are now following the Vol baseball program. It's growing and growing and growing. I just wonder how many of them, because you see on the message boards and social media, there's anger over this year, and it's like, if you followed college baseball, this is not a sport where people repeat a whole lot. You didn't have a number 1 seed win it for 25 years until Tennessee did it last year. You've got 8 new teams in the College World Series this year. What you get in a year where you win the whole thing one year, you've been to the College World Series 2-3 times with Vitello. Some years you have a Sweet 16 year, which is what you got this year. That does not mean that, They lost their fire, all that kind of stuff that I've been reading. You mentioned Arkansas. The team that usually becomes the one that fans hate, the rival. Rivals are born by somebody taking something from me or blocking me on the path to something. Arkansas is kind of becoming that for Tennessee. We all know that Vitello coached under Dave Van Horn, and it's not the first time in college sports or professional sports where you've seen an assistant go on his own. Has a hard time coming back to beat the other guy for some reason. Maybe the other team gets fired up, whatever. But the Arkansas thing, where are they on Tennessee's list of rivals at this point, in your opinion?
Well, I think Tennessee has 15 rivals around the Southeastern Conference because that's just what seems to follow Tennessee. But Arkansas specifically, that has been the riddle you can't solve. I mean, they are to Tony Vitello what Georgia has been to Josh Heupel.
And what Florida was to Fulmer and Alabama was to Majors.
Exactly. You've managed to beat them twice. You won one game in the 2021 series. You won the first game in the series this year to start Week 10, the last week of the regular season. And the thing is, you look at 2-13, and without a doubt, that's the bottom line. They have had your number and continue to have your number. But it's not as though Tennessee has been just wiped out. They got hammered pretty good in that last game, but they lost by a run in the first game. And then you have almost half of those losses are by 2 runs or less in that stretch. So you're close. It's just that doesn't help. I mean, this isn't horseshoes
and hand grenades.
Exactly. It's not that. So the object is to go out there and win, and Tennessee just has not been able to beat the Razorbacks. And so, yes, that is the most frustrating thing because that's what that fan base will circulate and percolate wherever they can find something to post and say, ha, we beat you. You've just been beaten by DVH, Dave Van Horn. And at the same time, I mean, and that's not the personality at all of their head coach, which is interesting. But yeah, it is. There's only one other school in the Southeastern Conference that has a winning record against Tony Vitello in his time at Tennessee, and that's Auburn, and that's 8-5.
Yeah.
But I mean, Arkansas has been. You go back to 2017. Arkansas has the most wins of any baseball program in the country. If you go from 2021, Tennessee has the most wins of any baseball program in the country. And these are 2 very talented schools. They're loaded with talent. They've got great recruiters. And you've got 2 really good head coaches. It's just that one has not found a way to win a series against the other.
Well, you see that from time to time. I'm just waiting for that breakthrough moment. I mean, we went through this. Well, it's your wife's team, but you pull for the Colts as well. I'm a Patriots guy. It used to be the Patriots always found a way to get past Peyton and the Colts, and then one day that changed, especially when he went to Denver.
Yep.
That changed. So you're just waiting for the day, and you hope it gets here soon, when Tony Vitello can knock down that wall. Right now, I wonder if it's not becoming kind of a little bit of a mental thing that everybody, you tighten up a little. I mean, teams tighten up, coaches tighten up. I just wonder, okay, he knows what the record is. He knows I've coached here. I know that guy. It would be hard for that. Nah, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It would bother me. I think most people would have it in their back of their heads.
Oh, yeah, and I would bet you that he is beyond aware in terms of the programs that have had his number compared to the ones that he has certainly, and that's everybody else.
That's everybody else. Yeah.
Everybody else. But I do think that sure. But I will say this, there hasn't been that move yet to where it's like, well, why is this guy starting? Well, we're just going to go ahead and see if this can't be the lightning bolt that we need. I mean, there hasn't been the Hail Mary. It's just been, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do with what's worked for us and see if it doesn't get the job done. The approach has been sound, but I think with what you saw this year in Arkansas being 4-1 against Tennessee is a team that is built to win a championship. Not that Tennessee isn't, but I mean, you look at it. Yeah. There wasn't one specific player that had the monster week. And you had, I mean, for instance, they have the SEC Player of the Year. He wasn't really the difference maker in any of their victories. It's just that they have other guys that have stepped up, just like you saw so many times other Vols last year. When Tennessee needed somebody to make an out, they got an out. Big hit, somebody came up with that hit. They are much more consistent and stronger defensively than what Tennessee's been this year.
Okay. I want to close it out here. We don't have time to let you talk about every single player over there. Now, you always you follow these guys once they're out in Knoxville as well. You follow them at UT, obviously covering all those games. but you've made a trip or two to the Cape Cod leagues and watched them up there. So you always have a good relationship with the players and keeping track of them. Talk to me about a guy who I've seen described as the Zakai Ziegler of the UT baseball program, and that's Hunter Ensley.
Just remarkable. And he has said it best, and who could say it better, and that is, this is the only school he wanted to play for. He was the last of the commitments to Dave Serrano and Larry Simcox, and so he had pledged to come to Tennessee, and then when the change happened, he thought, maybe I need to go somewhere else, but then it was like, you can come, and so he gets here, and he was an outstanding quarterback. And I mean, he's somebody who was always in the mindset, just let me put the team on my shoulders, and it wrecked his shoulder. So he was here for more than 2 years before he was kind of back close to 100% in his ability to do everything that he's capable of. But just the opportunity is what he wanted, and he wasn't going to stop fighting until he got a foot in the door, and that's what he did. He made himself Tennessee's center fielder, and then he just continued to make himself. He wouldn't be somebody who you would look at his career numbers and say, well, that's going to rival Todd Helton or anybody like that. But boy, when Tennessee needed something, whether it was an incredible catch in center or just a remarkable effort, he had it. It was interesting. I'll never forget last year, Tennessee can't afford to lose a game against South Carolina in Week 10, or Kentucky clinches the East and the top seed in the SEC tournament. And sure enough, you could almost sense he's going to hit a home run here. And sure enough, he hits a 3-run bomb in what was a game that was, I think was the second game of the series. Uphill climb the entire day for the Volunteers. But who came up with a 3-run bomb onto the porch and left? It was Hunter Ensley. He's always been that kind of guy. And whether it was the catch where he slams into center field against North Carolina, or the slide that he makes for what proved to be the winning run against Texas A&M, you always knew that was perhaps something that was always within reach for him, and he went out and it was just not going to be denied. But it has meant the world to him to wear the orange and white, and that's something that I think everybody will always appreciate.
Final wrap on this season, or looking forward to next season? I'll give you the choice.
I just think that this is a year where you can point to just the effort, because while the results weren't there, it's not like they were that far away either. As we talked about, there are only 6 seasons of Tennessee baseball where they won more games. You had 1 season where they won 48. You've had 4 50-win seasons, and last year's 60-win campaign. Yeah. So that's it. So the guys that laid it on the line, I mean, what Andrew Fisher did was remarkable, as he's the only player in the country that reached base in every game his team played. And the only one, not just the SEC,
right,
the country.
In the country.
So it certainly wasn't what they wanted to do. They wanted to finish in Omaha just like the last 2 teams have. But I just think that there is a great appreciation for how hard they got after it.
Ready for next year?
Yes, always.
John Wilkerson, thank you for coming in and chatting about this. Always good to see you, my friend. And thank you for watching, folks. You can catch more of John, more of myself here at the Sports Source Digital Network. Just click the like button if you like this kind of content. Be sure to click the subscribe button, hit the notify, leave a comment, and drop by Hearthside Bank or visit hearthsidebank.com, because they make all of this possible. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on SSDN.